Kids Comics Unite is a friendly, free community of children's graphic novel creators who are serious about improving their work and building their careers. This month, we're excited to highlight some of our members' crowdfunding campaigns as part of our partnership with crowdfunder.com. Our very own Patrick Lugo will be hosting these streams. Patrick, take it away!
You know, they say that these moments of silence are terrible for broadcasting, but sometimes they're just a necessary side effect of being a one-man show. So welcome again to 2 for 2 of our live stream spotlights here at Kids Comics Unite. And we'll be spotlighting Lock and Dock by writer and creator Josh Sippie, who's joining us. So let's have you aboard and take a moment to imagine applause. And welcome. Thank you, Josh, for joining us. Hold on one second. Because we're live, there's always got to be something. You were muted. So let's take it. Take 2. Applause. Welcome, Josh.
Thank you, Patrick, and thank you for doing this.
Oh, you're welcome. This has been fun. It's little things like this, you know. I'm hoping someone's paying close enough attention to like isolate these outtakes, because I think put together they'll be hilarious.
Can only hope so. Outtakes are the best of everything.
Indeed. Well, anyway, so here we are. Josh, welcome. I have a little bit of your bio, which you included in your crowdfunder campaign, right? So although I'm the guy who's reading it now, you were the person who wrote it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to try and butcher what you say, but I just want to say, like, you're currently getting an MFA in children's literature at Hamlin. Amazing. You're also the director of content at Negative Space Comics and the director of publishing guidance at Gotham Writers, right? That's just 3 sentences that of bona fides, which, wow, I mean, thanks for joining us. I feel so impressed that you've taken the time.
No, not at all. Actually, the Gotham Writers thing is ended. I'm actually moving to Barnes & Nobles to be a content strategist with Barnes & Nobles. So that will be my new 3rd sentence on that bio.
Really? Is this breaking news here? Are we breaking news live? Because that would be amazing.
It's the first time I've said it live. It's been on Twitter, and I haven't really started yet. I'm on my vacation week right now, so I've just been doing all the things I wouldn't normally be able to do with a full-time job. But yeah, technically breaking news.
Oh, excellent. You heard it here first, folks. But yeah, well, congratulations on the new shift. That's amazing. And it kind of sweetly dovetails into some of what I find myself talking about with a lot of the creators here, about that whole dynamic shift in publishing and the necessity to grab the bull by the horns, or, you know, to like really try and take something on for yourself while still, you know, trying to get noticed by the bigwigs.
Yeah. And that's a huge challenge. I mean, that's something that I feel like I've been up against for a very long time, which is why I'm so grateful for this crowdfunder opportunity to sort of have that extra support, because it's been a long journey.
It sounds like it. But, you know, how about before we take a detailed look at Lock and Dock and its origins, I was wondering if you might share like a little bit of the secret origins of Josh and how oh, well, first of all, here's a congratulatory message. So
Thank you.
Excellent. But if you wouldn't mind taking a couple of moments to just really paint the picture for those folks who are only seeing you or, you know, meeting you for the first time here.
Yeah. So, I mean, as far as comics go, I was a late bloomer. I didn't start reading comics until, oh gosh, I couldn't even tell you when I started, but I know the first one was, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting it. It's by Charles Soule and Ryan Brown. About the wizard who comes to New York City. Curse Words. That was my first comic book. And I've always been into children's literature. I mean, the first thing I ever wanted to write was a middle grade novel, which is what I've been spending years of my life working on. I didn't read as a kid, so I feel like I'm making up for lost time now by writing the things I wish that I'd read as a kid. Uh, and merging my obsession of comics, my newfound obsession with comics, with my children's literature side just made sense. And that's what I've been doing lately. Again, it's a lot of stories that I wish I would have had, which were probably already out there. I just didn't know because I didn't read as a kid. So that's sort of the short-winded version of my origin story. I'm from the Midwest originally, where they don't really, you ask someone how you make a career in the creative arts, and they tell you you can't. So when I graduated college, I just came out to New York on a whim, and it's worked out so far. So I've been here 8 or 9 years now, and yeah, I'm sort of living that creative life with working in and around books, which is all I've ever wanted.
That's fantastic. So whereabouts in New York, if I might ask?
Yeah, so I'm in Manhattan. I'm not used to being in Manhattan. We're new to Manhattan as of January. We won the housing lottery, which is not a very common thing. I thank you. It's all thanks to my wife. She's been entering housing lotteries for like the entire time we've lived here, and finally worked. So yeah, we're right by Lincoln Center.
Wow. Well, you're talking to I was born in New York. I'm a bi-coaster, right? Born in New York. Now I live in the Bay Area, San Francisco. So from one end to the other. But so yeah, so hooray for Manhattan, hooray for the for winning the lottery, right? Like that's
It's
I
wild.
mean, right? Lessons for everyone, take that chance, jump in. You never know what you'll get out of it.
Yeah,
I mean, that's kind of the thing that I'm constantly repeating because of crowdfunding and I mean comics in general, right? Like we were talking earlier today about how 2020, the pandemic, how that had a seismic shift for a lot of people's careers, and how many like artists today were really, at that inflection point and then, took the plunge, jumped into like really focusing or renewing their passion for art, and then where that's brought folks now.
for sure. Yeah. I mean that's the pandemic did a lot of that. It did a lot of. I mean, yeah, that was I spent a lot of time during that creating as well, as most people did. So yeah.
Is that where you got the germ of an idea for Lock and Dock, or has that been in the works longer?
It's been, I've always been obsessed with Sherlock Holmes. I was, whenever I first started, or when I finally started reading, I should say, I was in college, and I would just only read the classics because that's all they teach you in the Midwest. They teach you the classics and nothing else. And I got so obsessed with Sherlock Holmes, but I didn't really know what to do with it yet. I mean, there are so many mysteries and children's mysteries, and sort of, there's the Enola Holmes series, which is pretty good. And I don't remember when Lock and Dock officially set in, but I didn't intend to write it as a comic book. I was still in my traditional novel phase of writing, which is still going to be a part of what I do. But at some point, I just thought, wouldn't it be awesome if this detective had a teddy bear that was helping him solve mysteries with him? And I think that's what came to me first. And then I realized, oh my gosh, that could be the Sherlock Holmes. I'm very obsessed with the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes and that sense of humor, and thinking that sense of humor without the violence would be amazing for kids. So I'm channeling a lot of that into this visual, which, as you just put up here, the visual of having a detective teddy bear with an amazing mustache.
So how would you how would you what would be your okay, so here's something I recently learned. Someone suggested that rather than describing things as an elevator pitch, right, describe them as a convention pitch, because they're more likely to be used. I mean, Comic-Con is starting this week, right? In-person events are back, right? So I've been, talking with other people who are going to be at the conventions. And so the whole thought of like, what's your convention pitch? If someone showed up at your table and they saw this sign, how would you pitch it?
Well, Locke is a 12-year-old detective in Brooklyn, and his sentient teddy bear Doc is his sidekick. Locke has spent the better part of his life solving mysteries and crimes in the stuffed animal underworld of Brooklyn. He believes he is the only kid who can talk to stuffed animals. He can talk to Doc as well as everyone else's stuffed animals. But there is a lot of seediness going on in the underbelly of the stuffed animal world, and it's up to Locke to discover who's behind it and to stop it. And this is like a whole story universe. So these are just 2 short stories. I'm working on a full-length graphic novel set in this universe too. And I mean, when I first launched this, it was going to be 5 stories, but the crowdfunding ask would have been way too steep. So I docked it down to 2, and I'll just save the other stories for later. There's just so much content that I want to create in this world.
I mean, that's so awesome, right? I mean, that's like such a classic comic approach, right? Start off with a couple of issues. If it succeeds, then go forward.
Mhm.
So that
Yeah.
part is really exciting. And then you mentioned the ask, right? So you still have a good couple of weeks for your campaign, and you've just are approaching the 50% mark. You've got 42 contributors, which is very impressive, right? But the thing is that, is the ask, right?
Mhm.
Because you're asking for money to pay your artists, which it's not just like, hey, I did this thing, do you want to buy it? You've kind of like invested in a bigger scenario. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, since I am unfortunately not an artist myself, I wanted to make sure I got, artists who were at that same sort of section I was, where they, are eager to work on projects that might not have that big publisher hook, but also really quality artists that were going to be able to bring justice to these characters. And I got very, very lucky with the artists that were interested. And there were a few others that were interested in doing more of the stories as well that I'm hoping to do in the future. But the ask is primarily so I can pay them their regular page rates, because I'm not the kind of person that's going to haggle your page rate. If you tell me what you want to be paid, I'm not going to sit here and be like, but can you do less? Because if that's what you feel like you're worth, I believe you. And both of these artists have proven that they are worth that. And I knew the ask was steep, but there's a mention on the story page where I say this is going to get made regardless of if we hit our goal or not. The goal is just going to help it get made a little bit quicker. So whatever we make is a blessing. It's more than I had before for this project. So I am very grateful for where we are, and I'm still hopeful that we can get a little bit closer with the time that we have left.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's an important detail to consider, right? This is something that anyone who's considering crowdfunding, has to take into account. Like, how important is the project in relation to the investment? Because it's an investment, just not just in time, but in resources, right? And
Mhm.
so in this case, right, it's what they call it in comic. They call it like a loss leader, right? Where anyone who buys a copy of this book now, pre-orders it now, is going to help just you offset the impact, or partake in the investment of this project.
Yeah,
But
absolutely. And that's the part of crowdfunding I like the least. One of the reasons I've never done it is because I'm not good at asking for help. I'm not good at reaching out to people I haven't talked to in 5 years and being like, hey, look what I'm doing. How about you throw some money at it? So that's been the big hang up. But I mean, I've been, I'm blessed with a very good support group from several different circles, Kids Comics Unite included. And I've been, out and around New York City, putting up flyers, putting up, ads in my apartment building, like anything and everything that I can think of to get the word out there. I'm trying, because this is a project that I believe in.
that's true. I was noticing
There
that
it is.
in your updates, right? I mean, the QR code, essential, something we're all
Yes.
talking about. But look at this right there. A genuine New York. You could almost see Daredevil in the distance back there if you squint.
That's
Um,
right.
No, so let's take a second to really focus on your artist before we start, before I get to have too much fun, reminiscing on New York City. But where's the team? There's the team.
There's the team.
And okay, well, also here's something I have to really address immediately. Keanu Reeves fanboy.
Oh yes.
So just really quickly, let me know what's your number one Keanu Reeves movie? What's your
Oh,
favorite appearance that he's had?
that's so hard to answer. I went on a streak. I'm actually working on one of my friends and I are both obsessed with Keanu Reeves, and we're working on a Keanu Reeves poetry book called Keanu Tree, and it's 100 poems, 50 from each of us about Keanu Reeves, which is it's years in the making. But I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm a mainstream Keanu Reeves fan, but John Wick 4 was really exceptional. I loved it. I loved that. What's the one? Oh my gosh, it's been so long since I've seen it. Where he's in the desert. It's a dystopian. I don't remember what it is. He's not even a big character in it, but he gives one of the best monologues I've ever seen about where sewage goes, and it's just hysterical. So that's probably my favorite Keanu Reeves moment. That's so off the beaten path I can't even remember what the movie's called. But one day people will see it and they'll remember.
I have yet to see John Wick 4, which I should just, it's a bad thing. But his others. I mean, when The Matrix came out many years ago, I worked for a publication called Kung Fu Magazine, where we it's a American movie using kung fu choreography, right? So we zoomed right in on it. So that was I didn't do any interviews. I laid out the articles and got to read about Keanu Reeves that way. But then much later, just only a year or so ago, I got to interview Jeff Darrow, comic artist and the concept artist for The Matrix. And he kind of let me in on a few behind the scenes like oral history. And so there's one I want to share with you because I think you'll appreciate who the Wachowskis wanted to cast. Jet Li, I think that's fairly common knowledge. But Hollywood, the producers made a counter offer that resulted in Keanu Reeves being like we'll choose him instead. Do you know who that counter offer was? Can you imagine?
I have
Another actor, martial artist of that time period. Hollywood producer thought if it's going to be a movie with martial arts, only Steven Seagal can be the lead.
Oh no.
Can you imagine?
I'm imagining it now.
I know, right? And so another reason to say like, whoa, and another reason to be thankful to Keanu for saving us
exactly
from that little bit. But I just wanted to go down that little bit of nerdy trivia live here. Just because, But anyway, okay, now that we've gone there, let's go back to the serious business of comics. And come back to your team.
Yes.
So you have artist Yuri Guzman, who's doing volume 1. Is that correct?
Yeah, she's doing Adventures with the Headless Giraffe, which is one of the 2 short stories included in this volume.
And then your second artist.
Yes, she is doing a Below Average Medium. And they've both just been so fantastic to work with. Like I said, I'm another reason why I haven't been so gung-ho about self-producing my own stuff is because I've been really worried about finding artists and making sure they're just the right fit. And it's like I've done it 3 times now. This is times 2 and 3 that I've hired an artist, and every single time it's just been fantastic. So if anyone's looking for more artists to add to their list, I highly recommend Yuri and Sophia.
Oh, that's excellent. That's very cool. And so wait, so you mentioned, is this not your first crowdfunding campaign?
It's my first crowdfunder, but I'm working on an original graphic novel that's not Sherlock Holmes related through my MFA program that I hired an artist to do just like a trailer of 7 pages for, which is on my website. It's not on this crowdfunder, but that was a great experience too. That's with an artist named Kit Kippenberger, who is also fantastic. I have nothing but endorsements for these people.
And so if people want to check that out, they can go to your website here.
Yes, yeah, and if you go, there's 3 options when you go there: writer, educator, editor. You click the writer one, and you're going to see my 3 comics things there at the top. There's a one-shot YA comic I did for the Negative Space anthology. Below that is the one I'm talking about. It's called Werepup, and it's another middle grade graphic novel, but it's a full-length one. And the first not the first 7 pages, but like a trailer 7 pages are there. And then Lock
That's
and Dock is
exciting.
right below that.
I'm gonna have to take a look at that. But first, let's get back to your cover artist here.
Yes, my cover artists are amazing too. Leah and Megan both. Again, it's like these are artists that I've been following on Twitter for a while. So when the time came for me to start building my list, I didn't build too long of a list. I put people at the top, and these were the people that were at the top, and they both wanted to do it. So I didn't have to look far. They were all very enthusiastic about this project, and their work speaks volumes. I mean, you've got the 2 covers on, I believe it's on the story side of things, but it's both of the covers I love. I think it's beneath the sample 2 pages.
Look at these. Okay, well, first let's take a moment to enjoy these sample pages
Yes.
before we get to those covers.
Yeah, so this is the first 2 pages of Adventures with the Headless Giraffe. These are by Yuri Guzman. And I can't see them enough. I love them. It's her facial expressions that really got me excited. And she's the one who obviously did the character design for both of them. And her ability to capture Locke's snarkiness was exactly what I needed. And she's the one who gave Doc a mustache. I hadn't planned for him to have a mustache, but I'm so happy he does.
That mustache was destiny.
It was.
And yes, I mean, it's just like the how could you say, like, Locke looks like he has a lot of personality, and maybe sometimes too much personality,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what I love about him.
Exactly. Like you could almost feel it. Look at that. Look at that acting. And so it's all colors, inks, she's doing it all
of
for
it.
you.
Yeah, same with Sophia, who's doing a below average medium. And this opening splash page, she had sent me even just the pencils of it. And I loved, like, this guy that's holding the elephant. He's the sort of villain of the story. And everything about him is exactly the way I wanted him to be. It works perfectly. So yeah, I'm thrilled with this. And it just, like I said, I can't see it enough. They did such a great job with it.
I mean, there's so much life in both of them, and yet the styles are so distinct. Can you
Yep.
I'd be curious to know about your thinking in terms of, like, because it seems like you made the choice to, like, distinct art styles, distinct feels for each story.
Yeah, and that was something I was going to do. The pipe dream was to have 5 stories here and have 5 artists. And actually, Leah and Megan, I had earmarked to do 2 other stories, the 2 cover artists, and they have very distinct styles. So I wanted to do different styles. I don't really know why. I wanted artists to bring their own creativity to this project. I didn't want to tell them, like, it needs to be in the style. All I gave Sophia, I showed her the character designs that Yuri had made. And I said, whatever you want to, do with it is fine. Like, she'll show me pencils and stuff, and Yuri will too. And, like, is this what you were thinking? I'm like, whatever you have going, I trust you. And this is the payoff for it, of sort of letting them go where they felt like it needed to go.
I mean, I think that says a lot about, like, the clarity that you have for your characters. I mean, I'm looking at Lock and Dock there, and even with the disguise, right? They're recognizable, and there's that balancing act, right? Where, like, what are the things that make up the character, and then where can you, like, tweak that or change that, So, like, the character design is strong enough to be able to support, the costume that the character is wearing to disguise himself, right? So
Yeah,
I don't know. There's just something that it says something about the design of the character. It says something about the skill of the artist to be able to take those factors into account.
definitely. Yeah. And that I think I was speaking of Doc's mustache. Another thing that I love, and this is still something I'm very new to, but when something pops up that you hadn't written that is there, like the normal child disguise pointing at Locke, that was Sophia's. And I love it so much because it just adds that level of humor that I feel like that does work so well in this universe.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like It's another layer of the snark, in the same way that you get the stare sound effect, and it's almost like the heartbeat graphic, the emanata they call that, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah. So I mean, can you imagine? So how many pages will each one of these books be? Can you remind me?
Yeah, so this, I mean, it's going to be one volume containing the two of these stories. So Adventures with the Headless Giraffe is going to be 20 pages, and A Below Average Medium is going to be 16. But they're going to be in the same booklet with just a separating cover between the two. So, yeah, total of 36, doing the math here off the top of my head, 36 story pages in there.
Okay, excellent. And so, is there any way I can convince you to make it into a flip book so that you have a cover on both sides?
You know, that's a good idea, and I should have thought of that. Maybe for the next time, because I've got so many of these short stories. Next time I do a compilation like this, I'll do a flip book.
All right, just so I'm full of them. So I'm throwing that one your way in case you ever want to see it. Because you know what, I want to see more of those done, right?
Mhm.
So if I don't get a chance to do a flip book, maybe somebody else will.
Sure.
But yeah, so beautiful artwork. Just multiple pages of each one of these would be such a delight. What was the reading age? You have it kind of framed as an all ages appeal, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I mean, it's middle grade. I'm looking at 8 to 12. I just said all ages because I do think that, you know, one of the story features that I struggled with in creating this, that I've now grown to love, is the way that Locke speaks. It's very juxtaposed to how children speak. He sounds like Sherlock Holmes. I didn't like, I'm adapting my inner Sherlock Holmes from all my years of being obsessed with him. And I thought, there are a few little alterations along the way that make him sound more like a kid. But I think with that dialogue and that sort of, not adult humor, but humor that does hit a higher level if it needs to.
It's like layered almost. So, right, could be read on the surface and be enjoyed, but there's something more going on in there.
I hope so.
It seems to be the case.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just given the amount of thought that's being put in, look at this.
Yeah,
Look at this beauty.
I love these covers. This is the one by Megan. The one above is from Leah. And again, if I haven't endorsed them already, if you need work, definitely go to them.
And so you're not really doing like alternate covers the way a lot of other crowdfunding campaigns kind of, set up their scenario. It's like it's all there if you want it, right? Like the two stories, the covers, all in one package for folks to enjoy.
You do have to choose a cover whenever you choose which book you want. So it is a variant cover. You can get one, or you're going to have one of two covers. So you're not going to get both covers. I might include the art in whichever book anyway, just because I love them so much that I feel like they deserve it. But yeah, you will have to choose one cover or the other.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm glad that you're correcting that for me so that we can get all of these details out there for folks. Yeah. And speaking of details, right, I wanted to go into a particular detail about your campaign that is most unique. Would that be a fair description? Yeah, I think so. It's pretty unique. I know other campaigns kind of make a point of doing these kind of interactive features, where you can have you can name a character or you can have your likeness included.
Mm-hmm.
But in this particular instance, right, there's something different that's going on. So I want you to explain everything about this particular campaign tier, which I think a lot of folks need to know about.
Yeah, this is my favorite one. You can have your favorite plushie drawn into the story. So since there are so many stuffed animals in this story, what better way to leave your stamp on the story than to have one of your favorite plushies drawn into it? I know I think 3 have been claimed of the 10 that are available, and even from the 3 that have been claimed, I loved hearing the stories of one of them was a friend who it was their dog's plushie, and they wanted that plushie to be drawn into it. And another one was just a friend who it was his teddy bear from when he was a kid. And that's what I was really hoping for. I wanted people to remember what their first stuffed animal was and to get them drawn into this, because the whole catch with this universe is every kid has a stuffed animal. It's like their companion. And yeah, so I thought, I've seen a lot of these campaigns where you can have your face drawn into it, or like you said, name a character, or you can pop up as one of the characters yourselves. And I considered going that route too, but then this idea popped up. I feel like I wasn't the one who thought about it. I think somebody told me I should do this, and I can't remember who it was. So whoever came up with this, I'm very grateful for it, because, and then what was even better was I'd mentioned it to both my artists, like, would you be okay doing this? And they both thought it was just fantastic. And Sophia actually put up this graphic here. As you see, I'm sensing a really cool perk for a really cool supporter with the outline, your plushie here. So
yeah. So, I mean, great art, and just the whole dotted line, your plushie. And we've got some comments here where Kristen's saying, what? Adding a favorite plushie is genius. I think we're all in agreement.
Well, thank you.
And then Ashley and Joff are loving some of those sample and cover pages.
Awesome. Thank you.
Which is very cool. And yeah, I mean, just the thought of like the potential of getting one's plushie, or getting one's, like nephew's favorite plushie in there, and, setting up that gift. So it's like, okay, I'm gonna get my nephew's plushie in there, and then I'm gonna give this to them for Christmas or whatever. Like it's like a multi-layered thing going on, which is fantastic. And then you're saying that the story is like each kid has their plushie, which is kind of like their familiar, or
yes, yeah. Although Locke is the only one who can talk to those plushies. Nobody else can talk to them. They just carry them around, or at least Locke thinks he's the only kid who can talk to them. Spoiler, I'm not going to go any deeper than that, but there might be someone else who can.
That's all we need to know. But then also, I mean, what was I going to say? What's just so cool is just how you're kind of taking a unique spin, right? The spin that you're taking, it's like a conventional idea, but then you've made it relevant to your universe and to your characters, which I think is such a cool little twist.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention the whole. Actually, you asked me where this idea came from, and I just remembered. I don't know how I could forget this. I used to live in Brooklyn, and I was walking once through Park Slope, and there was a stuffed bunny rabbit nailed to a telephone pole, like halfway. I don't know how they got it up that high, but it was like halfway up the telephone pole, and it occurred to me, like, this is like a crime scene. Like, what if there were kids that investigated the deaths of stuffed animals, and that was the nugget that came from it. So it is a clear origin story. I don't know how I didn't remember that whenever he first asked me, but I'm glad it came to me. I think it was the outline of the plushie that made me remember that bunny rabbit. And there's actually one of the stories that isn't in this one. One of the short stories that will hopefully be in a future volume. It begins with that, with a bunny rabbit soaked by the rain on a sunny day, stapled or nailed to a telephone pole. It was very strange.
That's trippy. I mean, and also, I guess, also like the outline could indicate the outline of a bunny,
Mm-hmm.
a stuffed bunny left behind. I mean, those are the kind of plushies my dog leaves around the house. But
of course. Yeah, I think the hardest part about your plushie here was that I remembered my first stuffed animal, and I remembered that I don't have it anymore, and it's gone. And I thought, well, I don't know how to revive it. So I'm helping others keep their plushie immortal forever by having them drawn into the Lock
keeping those memories alive, or right, like helping them migrate from like our world to the world of fiction where they can be immortalized.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Oh, that's very cool. But let's see what other. Oh, there was one other specific reward that I also wanted to spotlight, but let me remove this one and move on to that one. In the meantime, I was wondering if you could share a little bit more about what you do when you're not working on Lock and Dock. You've got so many networks that you've been a part of, you know?
My go-to overused biosentences when not writing, I can be found wondering why I'm not writing. But yeah, I mean, I'm very, I'm always reading. I'm like you mentioned in my bio, I'm getting my MFA in children's literature because I realized I love children's literature so much that I just want to know everything I possibly can about it, which has been a fantastic experience. And yeah, there I am right there with a very overly dramatic shot, but that's me. Um, so this is one of the perks. One of the things I really wanted to offer with this campaign is, you know, one of the things, a lot of what has inspired me are things that I wish I had, that I feel like other writers must think they might want as well, which is sort of understanding how to navigate the publishing world, which is a very daunting process sometimes. But I spent 8 years at Gotham Writers teaching sort of publishing industry education of how to query, how to build an agent list, how to even get started researching all that stuff. So, that was one of the perks I offered here was you can just have a conversation with me for an hour. We'll talk about your goals with publishing. We'll talk about what agents you should look for. I mean, it's an exciting time now, especially for, as most people probably know, for graphic novels in the children's space, because there's so many imprints and more popping up every day that are looking for kids graphic novels, but all that is coming from agented creators. It's not open submission. So that first step is always, I mean, not always, but it's often the hardest one of just knowing how to get there. And I used to do, I was the assistant for a literary agent for 2 years, and it's remarkable. I would say like 80% of the queries, one of my jobs was to go through her inbox, and like 80% of the queries were for books that she wouldn't even rep. Like she was strictly memoir and mystery thriller, and people were sending picture books, and they were sending things that just would have no connection with her. So all that to say, there is a lack of sort of standardized education on how the publishing industry works and how to get your foot in the door. And that's something that I'm always happy to talk to creatives about. Anybody who wants to go the traditional publishing route, it can be intimidating. So being able to sort of talk it out and understand what you want to do with it, with your stories, and building a career path, it's never too early to start thinking about that. So that was the one perk, and then there were a few others as well. Through that work that I've done, I've built up a nice little network of agents and editors, and some were just friends who volunteered to have these calls with any interested supporters. And it makes a big difference if you can have a call with an agent and just ask them questions like, where do you see this project I have? Where, like, what age group, what genre, what should I be focusing on? It's valuable to be able to talk to them. So I was very blessed with the people who were willing to give their time to the campaign to sort of help in that lengthy goal that I've had to help writers understand the publishing world a bit better.
That's huge. I mean, those are like that's like hidden treasure that's you're just putting up on the table for people to just have at. I remember like years ago, like I had done my graphic novel. I had been working on it for way too long, right? And then I considered it done. I had gotten some readers, gotten some feedback, etc. And then it was like I spent a year just trying to learn querying and learn just like from scratch, like seeing, not getting any response to then getting consistent, polite rejections, which at least meant, okay, at least I'm getting through the initial, this email is incomprehensible, trash. Right. And then just really and then 2020 hit, right? So time to change some gears, which resulted in me like crowdfunding that project. Right. But then over the course of since 2020, right, like publishing has changed so dramatically, right? Like for comics, I kind of try and there's like what is it? There's like the traditional direct market, right? The
Yep.
big 2 or 3, right? And then now there's like the massive traditional publishing, graphic novel, like the big 2.5 now. I've kind of lost a little track on
It's
that
always
front.
shrinking.
Exactly, right? And then there's web comics, right? Just the whole, it's either tapas or webtoons or just whatever we're doing on Instagram, right? So those are and then there's crowdfunding, right? Like these 4 massive channels through which people can now kind of get their work out there. And it's like maybe years ago it would have been a thing like if you self-published, you probably were going to have less luck with a traditional publisher because you self-published. But it seems like that has kind of inverted now, and there's no one avenue that excludes you from another avenue. I mean, would that be fair to say?
Yeah, and I mean, one thing you're seeing a lot more of is sort of the validation of self-publishing, because, like you mentioned, it wasn't more than 3 or 4 years ago where the self-publishing space was still like people would turn their nose up on it, like there was no validity in that, and that's changing. And I think comics is a big reason why it's changing, because a lot of people are self-publishing their comics, and it's leading to bigger and better things. And anytime there's money to be made, publishing pays attention. And so, you see all these successful comic projects, and you hear a lot of people who got their agent through, they did a crowdfunder, and an agent found it and they wanted to make more of it, which, sure, that's a hidden goal of mine. So it's definitely something that is, yeah. But all that to say, there's no wrong way to take your project and get it out there. And it's actually, I never thought I would enjoy seeing self-publishing become so valid as it is. I was one of those people who believed that it was like a last-ditch resort. It was only if you couldn't get it out there, and it was very narrow-minded for the time. And it's nice to see these new avenues pop up for because there's no one right way to do it. So having these options, it gives creators more power than they used to have.
Yeah, that's so true. And just that what you said there about there is no, it's like maybe it's like right for certain projects, right?
Right.
Like, my quest for an agent didn't get fulfilled, right? But the learning process led me to communities like Kids Comics Unite, and then that valuable feedback, because this is what we're talking about, right? That valuable feedback helped me clarify my vision for my project, and then that also included knowing who my audience was, and then helping me build whatever, like the newsletter, the network that allowed me to reach out to that audience, right? And then now here I am kind of trying to do that same thing on a bigger scale, right? I'm not just here trying to get people to look at my book. It's more about let's get all of us to look at each other's books. Let's, like build that community and tighten the weave of that network, I guess.
Yeah, and that's something that I really admire about comics, and I feel like is unique to comics, is there is such an understanding of crowdfunding as a necessity and sort of being there to support each other that I don't think you find in other creative outlets.
Well, I want to jump back because you mentioned that a one-on-one call, right, with you was one of the options, but you also were able to bring in colleagues, which I think is amazing. So I was wondering if I was to scroll up and let's see if I enlarge this a little bit so I can better read that type.
Yeah, so this is the founder of Negative Space Comics, who I'm their director of content, as you mentioned. It's a comic book community that's really the whole idea behind it is to help new creators break in. And he is like a marketing guru. He was so helpful with me getting my campaign off the ground because I'd never done this before, and he knew what he was doing. He's had to do this before. And he's just, like I say, he's a marketing genius. He works with AWA Publishing in their marketing department. So I highly recommend checking in, even if you can't do the call, checking in with Negative Space Comics, because he's a very generous person with his time, and he's always there to help out fellow creatives as well.
That's excellent. And there's a familiar face.
That's me.
And then here we have Claire.
Yeah, Claire was whenever I figured I wanted to pick one agent to do this because I didn't want to overflow with 20 different agents, and she reps a good range of things from graphic novels to most kids lit things, and I think she does adult as well. So it really hit that sweet spot of I wanted a general appeal from the agent. I didn't want it to just be comics because I know a lot of writer friends that did claim this aren't doing comics. So I wanted to get an agent that sort of was a generalist who could see into different genres.
That's amazing. And I mean, just, I'm trying really hard to think of another campaign on any platform that's offered this, access at this level, as just like, because it's not like these are the folks that are working on this project, so they're taking some extra time out. Or correct me, is that?
No, none of them are connected to other than Noel helping me get the project off the ground. But no, all these people, they were supportive. And when I reached out and asked if they would give their time, they were, no hesitation, said they would do it. This one is Teddy. He's the managing editor at Aftershock. Just, again, one of those people who's like, if you have him in your circle, it's just such a blessing to have them there because he's so supportive and so kind. And, these are the kinds of people that I sort of built my career on at Gotham, people that were able to sort of demystify the publishing world and be there to just talk to people and remind these artists and creatives that haven't had a lot of experience in publishing that they're human too, and that they're not here to ruin your day or spoil your plans. They want, the one thing I always tell people is when you're querying someone, they want you to be the right fit too. So these rejections stuff, they aren't personal. So, the people that I feel like embody that principle the most are the people that you see listed here on the perks page.
That's amazing. And the thing that, this is like a slow motion, like mind being blown right now, because it's just like, they're not associated with the project in a big way, right? This isn't their passion project, but their participation is it's an endorsement of their belief in you as a creator, as well as their belief in what you created, that they're going to set some time aside just on the promise that, whomever agrees, right, they're both on the same page in that like level of commitment or that level of interest, like you've essentially introduced the two of them just by setting this up. And that I think is amazing because, the networking, I think I say that word too many times. So let me just say it one more time, networking. But no, because anyone who backs these, right, like it's going to be, like if I was to back this, it's going to be what I want to talk about. It could be the latest, sports event.
Right.
Don't get me started on sports because we'll go nowhere.
Yeah. And, that I'm glad you brought that up because it was, as creatives, we're always searching for that external validation. And for me, like I've gone 8 years of querying and I still don't have an agent. And that's something that frustrates me, I would say, daily. So even being able to land the artists that I did and to have these people say, yes, I will give my time to whoever wants to take you up on it, like that felt really good. It felt like something that I hadn't had to this level before. And again, just another reason why I love this project so much.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's just like that. It's that thing that we were talking about earlier in terms of like the investment, right? There's the investment that we make in terms of resources, but then there's the investment that we make in terms of time and like passion and, like then the willingness for others to invest in it, right? I've been using the word proponent a lot with regards to all of the various campaigns the campaign conversations I've been a part of, for the past couple of months. And like the value of finding someone or of being someone who can like really take a project and be like, let me elevate the voice of that project. Let me shout louder for this project. And so it seems like the fact that you're doing you've pulled in some of your colleagues to kind of create that opportunity for anyone who just jumps in, right? Anyone who's seeing this stream, who's a part of KCU, etc., right? Who's just randomly catching YouTube, has this like window that's opening up where they could like get their project forward, with the right conversation or the right connection.
And that's something that I can't stress enough. Like, just the right conversation makes a huge difference. Like, when I was stopped up recently, I was just really stuck with what I was doing. And actually, Jana, who runs KCU, opened up to calls, and I did that. And 1 hour later, I felt so much better. Like, just clarity, like being able to talk to people that are in and around the industry who are doing the stuff that can move your career, your creative career forward. It makes a big difference, even if it's just 15 minutes, even if it's just an hour. Like, the amount of insights you can get in that amount of time. And it's a connection that will last. Like, these aren't like, you don't just have the conversation and they disappear from your life. Like, you can send them stuff, you can query them, you can do all that stuff. So it is a very valuable thing. And like I said, it's something that when I was in my early days of trying to network, there's the word, that was the thing that I was doing. I was, paying for agents' times, and it's not always worth it. Like, sometimes you'll get agents who are just there for, the paycheck, and they'll just kind of tell you what you want to hear. But then you get people who are, really dedicated to this, to helping creatives get their stories out there. And it really does. It makes a big difference when you're able to talk to them.
Yeah. And you, I think that you start developing instincts, right? In the same way that like nothing's going to make you better at writing a query letter than writing tons of query letters, right?
Right.
But then there's always going to be that person who got there a little bit before you, who's going to be able to recognize that roadblock, that stumbling block that you can't see because you haven't taken that step yet, or you haven't, claimed that new territory. So just the value of someone being able to say, "Oh, I see what you're doing, but there's this one detail that could change like the whole context,"
Yeah.
That's like, I think about like, okay, well, here, maybe I should tell you, maybe you can correct me, right? Like, query standard, query letter starts with hello so and so, and then the next line is your convention pitch, right? That log line, so like I can't even count how many emails I wrote with the "I'm considering this book preamble, and I thought maybe you would be the best person," and that's just, that wasn't the right way to do it then. I don't think it.
That is what you like. Whenever you open a query, generally the first thing you want to tell the agent is why you're querying them, and being able to do that. Like, and that's another reason why these calls are really important, because if you can query them and say, "Hey, we had this conversation. I took what you said to heart, and I'm showing you now what I have." I mean, it doesn't guarantee you anything, but it guarantees you that you're at least getting through the gate to their direct eyes, because some of these agents have assistants. I was one of them. Where assistants will filter through and only pick out the ones that they think will work for the agent, and that is that's a hard pill to swallow, knowing that that's how it works, but it is. And if you can intro with something like, I just talked to you, or I've seen this book that you repped, and I think that mine is similar. Like, being able to intro with that sets you apart from the mess of queries that these agents get. So don't underestimate that first line of a query. I always refer to it as that one bit of connective tissue that you have with the agent. You don't need any more than that. Just one reason why you're querying them specifically makes a big difference. And it doesn't have to be that you talk to them. It could just be, like I said, you read a book that they repped, or there's so many databases out there. You can find out who these agents are. You see that they like the same TV show as you. You can lead with that. Like, all that first line is meant to do is to set you apart, but to also sort of let the agent know that you're not just carpet bombing hundreds of agents with the same query, that this is one that you send personally to them. It does make a difference.
You've done some research, right?
Exactly.
You're not just like going through a spreadsheet with the next one. And then, that, I guess that brings the next question is like, how long do you think until an agent is just counting on Chat GPT to like do the filtering for them, right?
Oh, that's a terrifying question. I mean, it was just, I think 2 days ago that Hachette announced a book that's a book of poetry that's all written by AI. And that's like, I'm like, what are you doing? That's literally the last thing anybody wants to see right now. And it's the point of view of AI telling its own story. I'm like, I don't want to know AI's story. Maybe I don't know anyone else that does, but I don't. And like, I don't know. It's like at a time where there's strikes everywhere because of AI, and writers are worried about AI. And then you've got a major publisher saying, well, we're just going to throw out this book of poems written by AI. It's just, I don't know. I think it's all awful.
It's crazy. It's crazy. I'm just like having a flashback to some YouTube video that, one of the YouTube videos I enjoy that talks about like story structure and, like nerds out about like things like that. And he did one about like having an AI write in the style of, J.R. Tolkien or whatever, and just like just so that he could point out what is style and what is style.
Mhm.
But
yeah, AI is it's a bugaboo for me. You bring it up, and I refuse to acknowledge any validity from it, unless you want to make our menial tasks easier. But don't touch creativity. Like that's not what we're here for.
yeah, let's instead focus on stickers, right? Because it's a much more agreeable subject matter.
Right.
But so yeah, stickers. You've got some stickers on offer, which I think is delightful. I'm always hearing folks, like their little giggle of glee at the chance to add stickers onto their set. And
Yeah.
I'm looking at that design, and it really almost like, maybe next campaign or something, but another brainstorm, it would be like the paper dolls effects, because you could almost get his coat on or something. Is that? Am I the only one who's seeing that, or did you get a little bit of that when you first saw this sticker layout?
I didn't, but I do now, and I like where your head's at. That's definitely coming into the next campaign, as well as the flip book idea.
Oh, you know what? I don't know, maybe. Do you remember color forms? Am I revealing my age with color forms?
I don't know if I do.
Okay, so this was a toy that was popular in the Dark Ages, and it was like a play set that was just basically a printed background, like imagine like a comic book version of New York City, and then they had like vinyl cutouts of like Spider-Man, and you just had like it was like a sticker sheet, but they were temporary stickers because they stuck to the background from static.
I think I do remember that, because I think I had one from Toy Soldiers. I think the movie's called Toy Soldiers, but I think I do remember those.
I just, that's what those stickers remind me of too, like the whole potential of like, pulling the mustache off and then putting it back on,
Speaking of removable mustaches, one of the perks that I didn't pull the trigger on for this one, but that's perhaps coming in the future, are custom plushes of Doc, because, I mean, who doesn't want a stuffed bear with a monocle and a mustache and an Argyle vest or a plaid vest or whatever that is? But regardless, you have that to look forward to.
It's very, very. He's clearly he's impatient to be made manifest, but yeah, there's been a few campaigns on offer that have included the plushies, so definitely
It's
something
coming.
That's amazing. Excellent. So we are looking at the 59-minute mark, and this has been so much fun. I'm so glad for the chance to have gotten to know you better, Josh.
Absolutely.
This has been fun.
Yeah,
And
I had a blast.
I'm really excited to see Lock and Doc really, make some waves out there. I mean, that's not the great metaphor. What would be a good one? Pull the stuffing out of something. No, that's not good either.
No, that's good actually. See, there's a lot of metaphors in this, but you asked me to come up with one at the top of my head, and I can't do it. We'll come up with one in like 3 days, and I'll send it to you and say, this is the metaphor we were looking for.
Excellent. I'll be waiting for that. You can hit me up on Twitter or something.
Absolutely.
And on that note, let me share that little bit of information for anyone else, right? Because I think I have it here somewhere. I've got your website, and then I had it. Where did I misplace it? I'm gonna just create a new banner just for this occasion. Here we are live making things happen.
That's right.
So oh, the clock's ticking. Can I do it in time?
I also have a very easy to find. There it is. But I have an easy last name, and if you search me on Twitter, you won't find many other people with that name. So yes,
I really wanted to make it into like a ticker tape sort of thing, but I I didn't press the right button.
That's okay.
So let me do it for you here.
Ooh,
how's that?
That's
all right.
fancy.
We've got all the whistles. I'm pulling out all the whistles and all the bells for you, Josh.
Thank you. It's much appreciated.
All right. And with that, let me close down that page and give you a chance to put anything out there that we haven't covered with regards to what you do, what you're trying to do, where folks can find you.
Yeah, so I've covered pretty much everything, but you've got my website there, you've got my Twitter there. I've talked about everything that I love about Lock and Dock. I love it so much. This is the most fun I've had writing a story in a long time, and I'm always writing stories. So they always say no fun in the writer, no fun in the reader. So I like to think that a lot of fun in the writer means a lot of fun in the reader. So I hope that's what you find from this. And really, like, I know I went on to this whole spiel of knowing the publishing industry and all that stuff, but don't take that for granted. Like if there are people out there that are willing to talk about it, take them up on that. So I think that's all I have to say.
That is a heavy duty bit of advice that you're closing on. And we've got a great comment that you should see there. Thank you for the great conversation. I thank you all for this great conversation. And
thanks for being here.
I think we're gonna do another live stream tomorrow. I'm looking at my calendar up there, but I wasn't just like imagining it. So yeah, we have another live stream tomorrow, 3:30 p.m. Pacific. Just wanted to put that out there, and then yeah, I'm just gonna do kind of what we do normally is close out the show with a short little video outro, and I'll thank you folks. Let me just make sure all the right buttons are pressed. The toys back in the toy box, right?
That's right.
And okay, so here we go. Final outro video for those final 4 viewers that we have. Thank you, Josh. This has been an absolute pleasure.
Kids Comics Unite is a friendly, free community of children's graphic novel creators who are serious about improving their work and building their careers. This month, we're excited to highlight some of our members' crowdfunding campaigns as part of our partnership with crowdfunder.com. Our very own Patrick